tonight's episode of 60 Seconds, coming at you live just after the housing bubble burst of 2008. Today we have, all the way from the 19th century, Karl Marx. All the way from the 18th century, Adam Smith. And from the 20th century, John Maynard Keynes.
It's Keynes, like candy cane.
Now, Mr. Keynes, what policies would you implement to get us out of this recession?
Government involvement is necessary.
Nonsense. Government intervention should not be the only dynamic force in an economy. Let me explain my invisible hand theory. People generally have a natural instinct to survive and to improve their standard of living. This self-interest is what drives the markets to supply what people want and by producing them.
The proletariat should control everything. Communism is the only viable solution. Economic crises will continue to happen until one so great will occur that we will not be able to recover.
But there are two issues with your argument. Capitalist systems have proven to be enormously more efficient than the very few communist societies that exist and have existed. Two, workers' incomes have actually risen over time, meaning that they are sharing in the rising economic growth that capitalist countries have enjoyed.
I agree that the government does not need to take dominant control in the economy, but during a recession, some government control is necessary. They have tools that can help restore the economy to conditions prior to the recession.
You capitalists will do anything to exploit the working class. This economic downturn is a perfect example of what happens when greedy firms compete with each other for profit. I'll admit that capitalism has been important in raising the standard of living. But now it is time for the proletariat to rise up and overthrow its capitalist oppressors in favor of an equal society.
You said that capitalism cannot be salvaged. Well, with deficit spending, it can. Deficit spending is a method when the government spends more than the money that they have. But you see, it would stimulate employment and stabilize wages. It works. You see, we used it, FDR used it during the Great Depression, and though it was World War II that really restored the economy, it definitely helped.
In my eyes, the government has three jobs and three jobs only: enforce private property rights, administer justice, and defend the nation from outside threats.
But government taxation is necessary. Taxing high incomes will help prevent most of the wealth from landing in the hands of a few. This would reduce speculative bubbles, which would help restrain recessions. Taxation can act as a method of redistributing income, which helps the circulation of money.
I say we just tax the rich!
Sure, well-circulated money is very necessary for the economy to experience maximum efficiency, but the circulation of money, which I believe should be tied to its equivalence of metallic money, can primarily be the business of the banks and not just the government.
Ugh, don't even get me started on banks. We should have a national bank with state capital and an exclusive monopoly.
Keynes, I have another question for you. What would you do to solve the unemployment crisis?
Well, since I believe it is an interaction between aggregate demand and aggregate supply that determines unemployment, and
I told you guys that competition with other capitalists would inevitably cause firms to fail, which harms the economy by increasing unemployment. Technological innovation means machines will replace people, only increasing unemployment further. If people had listened to me in the first place, we wouldn't even be in this mess.
Unemployment is actually tied to the amount of capital stock.
so as I was saying, the government must use expansionary fiscal policy.
Nonsense.
Well, that's it for the show. Unfortunately, we went over our 60-second limit. But after this break, tune in where we will be interviewing President Kennedy and seeing how it felt for him to be assassinated and how Lyndon B. Johnson handled the grieving country.